Fossil of the Day.
Welcome back to COP24 here in Katowice, Poland. Today's Fossil of the Day award was given to the Arab group. This is quite an important fossil because it turns out that today Kuwait was trying to get rid of any mention of the IPCC report that was talking about just how serious going above a 1.5 degrees Celsius limit is. Kuwait, you can't just delete anything that's inconvenient. You know, chemistry doesn't bend to your will. And in addition to that, they had made mention to try to get rid of any mention of gender in the text, claiming that men and women and developed and developing countries will be equally affected by climate change. Look, that's just not how it works. Marginalized communities, people are already being affected, and those impacts are unequal. Arab group, you need to step up and start changing your tune if you're not going to keep winning this every day. You're our top contender for the Colossal Fossil this year. See you tomorrow and every day here at Fossil of the Day. You're invited to sing with me, if you will. Maestro, if you please. The day, fossil of the day. Who is bad? Who is worse? Fossil of the day, fossil of the day. All the blame, all the shame. Fossil of the day. Thank you. And this is an important fossil because we need to talk a little bit about taking care of each other here. You know, and we need to really look out for each other. So, you know, if someone loses, is this anyone's bag up here? Has anyone left their bag? No? No. So, y'all are just like 80 people standing around here at like an unidentified object just sitting on the floor, and no one decides like something's weird? Have y'all been under a rock for the past 15 years? People are super paranoid these days. But it's important that if you see something happening that could cause a problem, you need to say something. And that's part of why we're all here. And we're all here really, we're trying to save the world. We're trying to make the climate better. We're all here for that. Well, no, I think some people are actually here just trying to make a lot of money, but we're going to try to ignore them. But we also wanted to take this special moment to present to you all our new mascot, Fossil. Can we have a quiet round of applause? Thank you. And I know Fossil looks ferocious. You know, on the outside, it's ferocious T-Rex skeleton, ready to rip apart goats and whatever. But on the inside, Fossil's really fuzzy, like a bowl of puppies, just all curled up and sleepy. So, Fossil, it's great. We want to present you to everyone here today.
Some people think fossil fuels are heating the planet, but I think it's you.
Hey, baby.
Wow, you are the hottest year on record.
Whoa.
Damn, you make me think things dirtier than the tar sands.
Whoa. Okay, guys. I mean, you all think that kind of behavior is acceptable? Yeah. What? No one spoke up and said anything? I mean, you know, just because dinosaurs are extinct doesn't mean they don't have feelings. No? Oh, come on, come here, Fossil. Come on, come here. What's the matter? What's the matter?
It's like, you know, Bambi's mother. She died. I thought she was going to survive the end of the movie, but Bambi's mother died. Oh my God.
Yeah, Fossil. We all took that one pretty hard. But what's wrong now?
What's wrong now? It's the 1.5. I mean, like, we've only got a few years to go, and then like no one's doing anything. It's like what? What's going on?
No, I know. That is kind of terrifying that the world might, in our lifetime, lifetime spiral out of control into a death trap of increased violence and scarcity. But it's okay, Fossil, when something bad happens to you, maybe just try to forget about it.
But I can't forget. How do you forget something that's like got peer reviews from like 600 scientists all around the world? I mean, this is not just some random report. It's like something they did all around the world, like 600 peer-reviewed people. How do you forget something like that?
No, that's a good point. That is a good question. How do you forget about something as important as the 1.5 IPCC report? Well, Fossil, maybe if you can't forget about it, maybe just try to delete it from any of the paragraphs where it is in your brain, and then maybe it'll go away. Let's try. Beep. Oh, okay, that works. So, good thing we're learning here in the COP that if you don't like something, just delete it, right? I mean, but this is pretty important because erasing the mention of the 1.5 IPCC report does not make it not exist, does not make the consequences of it any less dire. And eliminating the voices of people who are oppressed and already marginalized does not make their suffering and oppression any less real. Which brings us to today's Fossil of the Day award. Could we have a very quiet, sort of like snapping drum roll today? Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, today's Fossil of the Day award is given to, whoa, the Arab group. Oh, baby, baby. One more time. Could it be a glitch in the matrix or a mirage in the desert? Or is it our senses that are failing us in the smog? But during negotiations here in Katowice, we distinctly heard Kuwait proposing to delete specific references to the findings of the IPCC 1.5 degree special report that were referenced by the Executive Committee during talks under the Warsaw International Mechanism on Loss and Damage, apparently because they are not okay with the report. You can be not okay with some things, but you kind of got to be okay with reality. The IPCC report vividly highlights the massive loss and damage that many countries and communities around the world already suffer as a result of climate change. This situation will be further exacerbated if the world fails to shift away from fossil fuels as a matter of urgency, cutting emissions fast and deep enough to stay within the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit. We trust that progressive countries in the Arab group will find their voice and reassure us that this was just indeed a glitch. Kuwait also blocked a proposed paragraph to encourage the ExCom to strengthen gender considerations in the implementation of the 5-year work plan. Yeah. Thank you. See something, say something. The group was only willing to allow a women and youth to be mentioned as part of vulnerable populations. It's astounding that the Arab group can claim that there will be no difference between the impacts on men and women and no difference between the impacts on developed and developing countries. I'm going to say that again. It's astounding that the Arab group can claim that there will be no difference between the impacts on men and women and no difference between the impacts on developed and developing countries. Those with the least resources, the least power, and on whom society already places unfair burdens will be more impacted by climate change. Fact. And the UNFCCC already adopted gender decisions and a gender action plan. So there is no reasonable argument to act in this way. And by the way, did we hear correctly that China supported these statements by Kuwait? We are not okay with it if they did. Baby, not one more time. Thank you very much. This has been the Fossil of the Day award. Can we hear a final boo for this scathing fossil for the Arab group? Fossil of the day. Who is bad? Who is worse? Fossil of the day. Fossil of the day. All the blame, all the shame. Fossil of the day. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.